Well, listeners, welcome back to Subculture After Dark. You might remember a couple of weeks ago we announced that Wednesday 13 will be back in Australia very, very soon, performing some classic Murderdolls tracks. In fact, the tour is in 2024 in February. We thought today we would actually get Wednesday 13 on the phone to talk a little bit about this amazing tour that you're all excited about. So welcome to the program, Wednesday 13.
Hello, hello.
Now, mate, we have got so many excited listeners about this tour. Tell us a little bit about how you feel about being able to return back to Australia.
Well, you said it. You said it before. He's classic. I'm performing classic. I'm so old now. I'm classic. I just realized it. I'm like Coca-Cola Classic. No, we're bringing back this is a tour. It's a tribute, 21 years to the music of Murderdolls. Right now we're in the middle of a U.S. tour, and we're doing a 20-song set list, which is coming out to about an hour 45 every night with the stories in between. And it has been a complete pleasure every night to go on stage and play. It's been unbelievable. The fan reaction has been great, and there's an entire new audience of young kids in the audience every night. It's just like it's everything I couldn't imagine. I keep forgetting that the music is it's got so many years now that there's younger kids discovering it that weren't even alive.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I can still remember my first copy of Beyond the Valley of the Murderdolls. I remember I was a 20-year-old kid at university and went out and got it. But now I'm in my 40s, so have you got multi-generational fans coming along now where it's dads bringing their kids or mums bringing their kids along to the shows?
Every single night. It's crazy. Like most of my VIPs I do are moms and their daughters, or dads and their sons. It's or the whole family. It's every single night, and our VIPs are packed, and every night full of these younger kids. And I'm getting to, that's where I get to talk to them. I'm like, how old are you? And they're like, 14. I'm like, what? I'm like, how do you know all the words? Like, it's just. And I keep forgetting. I guess I did the same thing with my favorite bands, When I loved Kiss and Alice Cooper, the early 70s stuff, and I was listening to it in the late 80s, you know what I mean? So it's like I wasn't there when it happened, but it was my favorite thing, and I knew everything about it. So I guess this is happening with my with my music now, and I guess I don't know. I never thought it would happen to me, but it's a great thing.
We joked before about it being a classic, but let's be honest, it is a classic album. It was a genre-changing album, and it's a test to your music that younger audiences today are still embracing it. Does that make you feel kind of, I don't know the right word, does it make you feel special knowing that your music has breached that gap and jumped over that gap so that younger people are enjoying the music as well as those of us who were old enough at the time to enjoy it?
Yeah, I think the word is proud. It makes me proud to know that the music has stood the test of time, and it's timeless. It doesn't have a time stamp on it. Like that record came out in 2002, but it doesn't sound like what was happening in 2002. It was like a spaceship crashed into that scene, and that's why it was such a different thing. And 21 years later, it's still that crashed spaceship that's weird. No one has really, not that we did anything that was groundbreaking or brand new. We were just carrying the flag from our favorite bands, and not a lot of bands have come along and carried that torch. There's been a few, but like no one did it that way. And I look back on it and I'm like, I'm proud of it, and I'm really proud to see that there's a whole new generation of kids flying that flag too. Maybe even stronger than the first round. Who knows?
Yeah, like I said before, it was a genre-changing album. It was something that we'd never heard before. Was it a difficult album to pitch to record labels?
Not at all. I mean, it was, I tell people all the time, that was Joey's side project out of Slipknot. So he ruled the world. Slipknot ruled the world at that point. So anything he wanted to do, he did. And anything Corey Taylor wanted to do, he did his. So it was like, the label was just going to do it regardless. I don't think they knew what it was. They hoped it would be good, but they were all about it. So, when Joey went, I'm doing a band, they went, okay. And this is what it sounds like. Okay. I'm going on tour. Okay. All right. It was never any no. And once we presented it to them and they saw that it was good and it actually had value to it and it was something that they could promote, and it started blowing up and they were like, holy shit, this is okay, all right. And they so it worked. It was anything, if the only thing that sucked about Murderdolls is that we didn't have enough time both times to continue that success. The first album was going, and then it was pretty much demanded that Joey return to Slipknot and make that album. So we had to stop. And when Slipknot started again, that momentum was gone. And it happened the second time. Unfortunately, the second time the Murderdolls record came out was right when Paul Gray passed, and it messed with Joey's whole outlook on everything. And then Slipknot was doing a tribute tour, and then it was a new album, and then so it's just unfortunately that band, as much good stuff about it, we just didn't have the best of luck when it came to doing something a lot longer than what we did. 2 albums in 21 years. We should have had 5 or 6.
Definitely. With that behind you, why did now feel like the right time for you to go out there and please Murderdoll fans with these tracks? Was there something that sparked that for you that made this feel like the right time?
I mean, unfortunately, it was Joey's passing that made this pop up. I mean, last year when I went on tour, I was sort of celebrating my catalog from just 20 years last year, the Murderdolls up to Wednesday 13, and there was a part in the set where I played Murderdoll songs and I talked about Joey, and every night I would talk to fans and they were like, that was my favorite part of the show. I loved hearing the stories. Loved to hear you talking about Joey. You should do a whole tour and play all Murderdoll songs. And I heard that more than once, every night, and I just went, that makes total sense. Let's do it. Because what I was getting out of that last year, being able to go on stage and play those songs and talk a little bit about him, it gave me a little bit of closure that I didn't have before when he passed.
Yeah.
And I also feel like the fans get a little bit of closure with that too, because they didn't get to really celebrate him in any way other than on their own, because no one else did any other celebrations or anything, but I just thought this made the most sense, and with his passing, and it was the right time to do it, if there was a time.
What has it been like for you going back and doing those tracks from the first album? Like you said, it's 21 years ago. What was it like when you first stepped back into the studio and started to rehearse for this tour and went back and revisited those tracks?
It was definitely like getting in a time machine. It was strange. I had to relearn how to sing these songs. I had to, recording this 21 years ago, I was 25 years old. My voice is a lot higher. I'm old now. I'm getting that low voice now. And so it's just, I had to, it wasn't hard to sing the songs because I wanted to sing them perfectly. What's hard is to perform the songs physically, because the music is so aggressive and so just angst. You have to move to it. So the hardest part is not getting out of breath, moving where I'm able to sing these songs. But the feeling of playing the songs is amazing, but I didn't realize how amazing it was until we went on stage and played it and I saw the reaction from the audience. That is one of the most rewarding things I can say about this tour. Is every night I walk on stage and I'm excited to see who's singing these songs, and it's everybody, and there's this whole group of younger kids singing the words that weren't alive when the album came out, and it's just that's overwhelming. Like I said, this tour is a long tour, almost 7 weeks, 38 days, and we're on show 24, and it feels like we just started because I'm having such a good time.
Like you said, your voice has changed over the years. Was there any particular track that gave you hell when you first started to work on it?
My God, probably all of them. It's not that it give me hell. It's just that rehearsal, everything was great. And then when I got on stage and I started moving around and I'm in the full leather jacket and I'm headbanging and there's lights on me and you start to sweat and you go, whoa, I wasn't anticipating on breathing while I was singing these songs. So that was the part that kind of took me back a little bit. So it took me several shows to learn how to do it again. And like I've said on an earlier interview today, I can't sit still and play these songs. It's like when it starts, it's just like, it's like a roller coaster. It's on. And I've had to learn how to pace myself where I can breathe and sing these songs because I want them to sound great. I want them to sound just like the album. I want people to leave and go, that was everything I wanted it to be and more.
Definitely. Now, outside of doing this show, I also, I'm a film journalist. That's my full-time job. And I wanted to talk to you about your love for horror films. Tell us a little bit about where that began. Where did that love for horror come from? And when did you realize that you could incorporate that into your music career? Because I Walked with the Zombie is still one of my favorite video clips of all time. Tell us a little bit about your love for horror, where it came from, and when you realized you could mix it with music.
I'll try to tell it as quick as possible. My love for horror really started, I lived in front of a television as a kid. I love cartoons. And, early 80s when my first memories, 80, 81, I was born in 76, which is the song, 1976. I remember just sitting in front of the television watching Bugs Bunny or whatever cartoon was on. But back then, they would always show cartoons, and then they would show the monsters and some more cartoons, and they would show Addams Family, and then they'd show some more cartoons, and then some of the cartoons were even monster oriented. There were like this show called the Groovy Ghoulies, and they were so the monster thing was still kind of popular, nowhere the way it is today. Obviously there's no Walking Dead stuff, but monster stuff was pretty popular, and I always liked it. I love toys. And then my family, later on, we got an illegal cable hookup at our house, and I had all the movie channels right at my fingertips every night. And I just watched TV when my parents would go to bed. They didn't know I was watching Creep Show and Dawn of the Dead and Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. And every movie that was on, it was right there in front of me. And I was watching it at 7 or 8 years old. Shouldn't have been, but I was. And when I started learning how to play guitar at 11 or 12, started writing songs, started writing lyrics. I just literally wrote what I knew about, and I didn't know anything except for horror movies and toys and TV shows, and that's what I wrote about. And I was able to not just sing a song about a horror movie, but put a little spin on it, put a little tongue-in-cheek on it. And that came from my equal, as much as I loved horror movies, I also loved comedy at the same time. And I would just, when I started writing, I just somehow balanced both of them. Because I don't, in my world, I think you got to have the comedy and the tragedy together. I don't like it separated.
Do you have favorite horror films that are go-tos to you even today?
The same ones. They don't change. Same way as my favorite albums. It's the same bands, same albums, same movies. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1, 2, Dawn of the Dead, The Shining, Phantasm, Return of the Living Dead. It's the same ones that I've always, and I bring them all on tour. All the movies I just listed, I have them all on our bus right now, on our DVDs that I've watched. The Halloween 1, 2, and 3 are 3 of my favorite movies. So yeah, just I'm not. People ask me all the time if I've seen new horror stuff, and I haven't. I was bummed out in the 90s. I think the horror movies took a huge dive, and I've never really tried to watch anything. Everything just doesn't stand up to me, and I think that's just because I'm just in my own world of growing up the way I did, watching what I did. I'll take the practical effects over CGI, video game looking stuff any day. And that's just, I don't know, I can't watch newer movies. It just doesn't look right to me.
Definitely. Now, I know we are running out of time very quickly, but I had a couple of quick questions I wanted to ask. First of all, do you have fond memories of Australia, and are you aware of just how many Australian fans Murderdolls have got?
I know Australia has been great for us. I've been touring there almost every year since 2010. COVID stopped it a bit, but it's just been great. I tell people all the time, I think my biggest fan base is Australia. It's pretty much equal with the UK, and I love it there. I've been able to tour almost every year. We've been able to do festivals like Soundwave and play with tons of bands by doing our own headline shows, and then supporting Marilyn Manson and doing Rob Zombie with Murderdolls. It's been great, and we always get to go to Australia when it's summertime. And when it's winter at home for us, we get to go and have summers. We get to have it like twice a year. So and the fans are just rabid. It's a whole nother world for us, and I love it there. I love it. So I can't wait to get back. And it's always my first place. I ask my booking agent, when are we playing Australia? Every time I tour, when, and he hooked it up. So we're so excited to be coming back.
Awesome. And to finish off, what would you like to say to all of your Australian fans out there before they go out and grab tickets to these amazing shows?
First off, they better hurry and grab tickets because they're going fast. I think the VIPs are all sold out, unfortunately. But get tickets to this show. Someone pointed out earlier today that Murderdolls never did a headline tour of Australia. So you've only seen the 45-minute, 40-minute opening slot sets. This tour is 20 songs from Murderdolls, 13 off the first album, the rest off the second album, and you get stories in between it. It's clocking in at 1:45 on this U.S. tour right now, and everybody, including myself, is walking away every night with the biggest smile on their face because we're doing this justice and we're doing it in honor of Joey.